Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are strapping ourselves in, getting right into the cockpit, really, for a close look at the, let's say, intense internal dynamics playing out at Alpine. They're definitely navigating some choppy waters in this F1 season.
Choppy is an understatement. I mean, the results are brutal, frankly, and that's just fueling all the drama, you know? We're talking about a major manufacturer team, Alpine, that has somehow gone 7 straight race weekends without scoring a single point. It's bad.
7 weekends, wow.
Yeah, and Mexico was just the latest disappointment. Gasly finished 15th, Colapinto 16th. They were only ahead of the cars that actually retired from the race. That's, I mean, for a factory team, that's basement level stuff.
Ouch. Okay, that really paints the picture. That's the grim reality on the timing sheets. But, and this is why we're doing this deep dive today, there's this massive paradox happening.
Right.
Because even with those results, or lack thereof, one driver's stock seems to be shooting up internally. Franco Colapinto. He's suddenly generating all these kind of contradictory headlines.
Exactly. That's the core of it. You've got this huge praise coming from, like, the very top executive level on one hand, the kind of backing that really makes people sit up and notice. And then almost immediately after, you get this very public dressing down over breaking team rules. It's like this perfect storm, you know? Raw speed, undeniable talent, smashing right into the brick wall of F1 team discipline.
So that's our mission today. We need to unpack this tension for you. How can a driver be getting celebrated by management for his pace, his raw pace, but then almost in the same breath be forced to publicly apologize for ignoring the team? What's that tell us about Alpine's thinking, maybe for 2026?
It's a classic F1 management puzzle, isn't it? When do you tolerate a bit of maverick behavior for that spark of genius?
Okay, let's start with the praise. Because, look, if you want to know if a young driver is really making an impact, you don't just read the standard team press release, right?
No, absolutely not.
You listen to the advisors, the big guns. And this endorsement came straight from FLAVIO Briatore, executive advisor at Alpine. Now, he's a guy who, well, knows a thing or two about finding and managing fast, sometimes difficult drivers.
And what's really key here isn't just that Briatore said something, but, like, how specific he was. He wasn't just throwing out empty compliments, you know?
Yeah.
He was talking actual performance metrics against a very established teammate. Briatore went public saying Colapinto has been at the level of Pierre Gasly for 4 races.
Wow. Okay, that's huge. Gasly's Grand Prix winner, he's seen as Alpine's benchmark, really. So to publicly put Colapinto on that same level performance-wise over 4 whole GPs, that's a massive stamp of approval for Colapinto.
It absolutely is. And we're not just talking, like, tiny improvements here. This assessment, it's based on real hard track data from those last few race weekends.
So what did that look like?
Well, across those 4 rounds, Colapinto actually managed to beat Gasly, his very experienced teammate, in the final race result and in qualifying on a couple of those occasions. That shows he's not just getting used to the car, he's matching a top driver's pace, and quickly.
And I guess that's the crucial internal benchmark, right?
Yeah.
Especially for a young driver trying to prove himself. The car itself might be struggling way down the order, no points maybe, but winning that head-to-head battle inside the team. That shows real progress, real adaptation.
Exactly. The lack of points. Yeah, that reflects the car's overall performance deficit. But Colapinto finding that pace, it suggests he's squeezing more out of that car than maybe expected and doing it fast. He's basically saying, hey, I'm the future here.
Okay, but, and it's a big but, this is where that confidence, that feeling of I'm maximizing this car, slams right in to F1 team strategy.
Which brings us to the United States Grand Prix. Austin, that's where the discipline issue really boiled over, didn't it? Yeah, the shift from that high praise to this sudden conflict was, well, pretty jarring. His speed clearly gave him the belief he could make his own calls, but that call completely violated how F1 teams need to operate.
And hey, if you're watching this deep dive on YouTube right now, welcome to the DRS zone. Do make sure you hit subscribe, join the conversation. Plenty more F1 analysis coming your way.
Good point.
Because Austin wasn't just like a small slip-up. It was pretty open defiance, wasn't it? Colapinto directly ignored clear team instructions. He overtook his teammate, Gasly, late in the race when told not to.
And you have to understand, these team orders, they're often about really critical things, even if it's just for P15 or something. Managing tires, optimizing a strategy maybe for one car over the other, protecting track position.
Right, there's always a reason, even if it seems minor from the outside.
Exactly. Even if they're fighting way down the order, the team's plan has to be followed, period. But Colapinto, initially anyway, he actually defended what he did.
He didn't just defend it, he kind of doubled down, didn't he? Said he thought it was the right thing because he was simply faster. He felt he had a better shot at getting a slightly better result, maybe.
Yeah, and he even mentioned, sort of alluded to past times where he'd been asked to let Gasly through, suggesting maybe some built-up frustration there, feeling like he'd compromised before.
Oh, okay. So there was maybe some history there fueling it.
Possibly. And that's the classic driver mindset, isn't it? I'm faster, my speed is the best strategy. But F1 teams, especially big manufacturer outfits like Alpine, they run on almost military levels of discipline. So that kind of public defiance, it demanded a very swift, very firm response from the leadership.
But why Briatore? I mean, he's known for backing his fast drivers, even the chaotic ones sometimes. Why come down so hard on Colapinto for maybe trying to grab P14 instead of P15? Was that tiny potential gain worth potentially knocking the driver's confidence?
Well, I think it wasn't really about the specific position, P14 or P15. It was about the principle, the team culture. Briatore, yeah, he's managed big egos, but he knows you need structure. He hammered home the rule. The instructions of the team must always be respected.
No exceptions.
No exceptions. Because in F1, if a driver ignores one order, maybe they ignore the next one too. And that completely breaks the trust you need for those really complex split-second strategy calls later on. So the consequence for Colapinto was instant and very public. He had to apologize to Gasly and, importantly, to the whole race team. Reinforcing that message, following orders comes first.
So a very public climb down. He basically had to issue that statement saying team instructions must always be followed no matter what happened. A formal reset, really. Which then brings us right back to that core question for Alpine's future. Is the speed we were just praising enough to make them forget the indiscipline they just had to punish?
That's exactly the calculation they've been making for 2026, which leads us nicely into the implications here. Colapinto's actual race seat. Because despite this recent surge in performance, despite the big praise from Briatore, his spot for 2026, it's still officially TBC, unconfirmed.
And that's kind of hanging there, isn't it? Especially when you compare it to his teammate, Pierre Gasly. He's sorted. He's got that security. A contract confirmed all the way through 2028. Colapinto's still technically fighting for his future, even with those strong internal performance signals.
Alpine's basically been weighing up the potential, the raw talent, against the reliability factor, let's call it. They know he's fast. Briatore shouted it from the rooftops, practically. But the question they had to answer was, can we count on him? When we're fighting for crucial points, maybe later when the car is better, can we rely on him to execute a tricky team strategy perfectly?
Because a mistake there, ignoring an order when points are on the line.
Exactly. The cost of getting that wrong in F1 is huge. We're talking potentially millions in prize money, tied up in the Constructors' Championship standings. They need certainty.
So how do we square that circle then? They seemed hesitant, maybe wrestling with the risk versus reward. You mentioned his talent.
Well, it looks like they've decided the risk is worth taking. Or perhaps that the talent is too good to ignore. Because we're getting very strong signs now, pretty concrete reports actually, that the team is moving forward with him.
Okay.
Word is that Colapinto's contract renewal is imminent.
Imminent. Now that ties this whole story together, doesn't it? The praise, the punishment, and now the commitment.
Yes. It sounds like the deal is expected to be done and dusted basically in the next few days, right before the Brazilian Grand Prix.
The timing is interesting, right? It suggests they saw Austin, they saw the defiance, they brought down the hammer with the apology, and saw that as the necessary course correction.
So they tested him, in a way. You could see it like that. They saw the speed, they enforced the protocol, and now they're ready to lock him in. They're essentially making a bet, aren't they? Betting that the competitive fire, the ambition that led to Austin, can be channeled, trained, rather than being a fatal flaw.
It's a proper high-wire act for Alpine, then. Banking on the huge upside of a driver who's clearly got that edge, maybe even challenges the rule sometimes.
And if you zoom out, look at the bigger F1 picture, it just highlights that incredibly tough, almost contradictory balance every single driver has to find.
How so?
Well, they have to be selfish enough, driven enough to push themselves to beat their teammate. Ultimately, that's what gets you noticed and keeps you in a seat. But at the same time, they have to be completely, utterly obedient to the team's strategy, even when maybe they don't agree with it.
Yeah, you need that aggressive edge to earn the drive, but you need the discipline to keep it, essentially. The drivers who master both sides of that coin, they're the ones who get those long-term deals Gasly has.
And what's fascinating here is you could argue Colapinto's raw speed earned him the public reprimand.
Right.
But his apparent willingness to accept that correction, to comply afterwards, is what seems to be securing him the contract renewal.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's leave you, our listeners, with this final thought to chew on, a real F1 dilemma. In the heat of battle, middle of a race, a driver knows, absolutely knows, they are faster than their teammate. And maybe the team instruction coming over the radio feels wrong, flawed, like it's actually costing the team a potential better position. Does that pure, undeniable speed, that instinct, ever ethically override the absolute rule of obeying the team? Or is following the plan, even maybe a suboptimal plan, always better than chaos?
It's a question that really separates the good drivers from the true team leaders, I think.
A massive thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the pressure cooker at Alpine. If you want more F1 insights and analysis like this, make sure you hit subscribe, follow the deep dive wherever you listen or watch. We'll catch you on the next one.